Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my hope that this video is going to find you in good health. What next for One Kenya Alliance movement after what transpired in Mumias? That's the question which most Kenyans are currently asking. What next for Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, and Gideon Moi? Because we all know that Cleophas Malala had invited Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula as chief guests during his tournament. But unknown to Mudavadi and Wetangula, Cleophas Malala was working hand in hand with the deputy president. And the deputy president was then supposed to arrive when Mudavadi and Weta are already on the ground. Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi then got wind of the secret plans. And then they decided not to attend the event. Wetangula decided to call for some urgent party meeting in Trans Nzoia, which he attended yesterday. Musalia Mudavadi went for some swimming lessons in Mombasa. He has not been seen up to now. But that move by Malala caught many Kenyans by surprise. Because we all know why Malala invited Ruto. The reason Malala invited Ruto was because Francis Atwoli had organized a major event in Bukhungu. And Atwoli invited Mudavadi and Wetangula. The two gentlemen said they were not going to attend that event because they had pre-planned event, which was the Mumias event. So Malala and Ruto then played games, and Ruto waited somewhere. He wanted Mudavadi, Weta to arrive. Then he was going to make a grand entry into the venue. That did not take place. So the question is, did all this happen without Musalia Mudavadi's knowledge? So One Kenya Alliance movement must ask themselves these four questions. They must ask themselves these four questions. And if they can get answers to these four questions, then they can figure out what next for the alliance. Who invited Tanga Tanga? That's the first question. Who invited Tanga Tanga to Cleophas Malala's event? Because by yesterday morning, people like Millicent Omanga, Aaron Cheriot, Kipchumba Murkomen were ready to attend the Mumias event. You can argue that those are fellow senators, which is okay. But there are other senators, like in Wiper. Someone like Mutula Kilonzo would have easily come and neutralized this thing if he invited the senators. Why only Tanga Tanga? So in my view, that was the first signal. And that's why One Kenya Alliance movement must ask themselves who invited Tanga Tanga as guests to this event. Once they get that, they'll be done. The second question is, why was the DP made the guest, the chief guest for this event? Or when was he made the chief guest? Because from all indications, it seems that the deputy president was bankrolling the entire football tournament. Malala did not show that. Then he convinced Mudavadi and Weta that they were going to be the chief guest. But in real sense, the chief guest was going to be the deputy president. So when was he made the chief guest? Was he made last minute, the moment he arrived? Or was that the original plan by Senator Malala? That's something which the other One Kenya Alliance movement chiefs must ask themselves. The third question, which they must ask themselves, is was Musalia Mudavadi aware of the DP coming to Mumias? And if he was not aware, at what stage was he informed? Because Mudavadi had planned to attend this particular event. He just cancelled it because Malala had invited the DP without informing him. I was following one of Moses Masika's Wetangula's handlers, who was very active about this event. He wanted to show that the Bukhungu meeting was going to fail and that the entire Western Kenya was going to go to Mumias. Then yesterday morning, he started changing that Wetangula was going to go to Trans Nzoia. And when I asked him, he couldn't respond. But the question is, was Mudavadi aware that Ruto was Ruto was coming as the chief guest to this event? That's one question which one Kenya Lands leadership must ask Mudavadi. And the last question which they must ask, why is Malala allowed to do whatever he's doing in ANC party? Is he acting under the instructions of Musalia Mudavadi? Because remember the other day, when they had the One Kenya Lands movement meeting in Bungoma, Malala didn't spare Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. He didn't spare Kalonzo Musyoka because Kalonzo had invited Raila Odinga to his event. So the question is, why is Malala allowed to do whatever he wants in ANC party? Is he acting for Musalia Mudavadi? If it's not working for Musalia Mudavadi, why is he not being punished? Why is he not being expelled? Is it possible that Musalia Mudavadi was aware of Ruto's coming to this event, but he just decided not to attend when other NASA co-principals, when other One Kenya Alliance co-principals raised alarm or raised issues with the William Ruto attending that event? So those are the questions. But the biggest question is, what next for One Kenya Alliance movement after what happened there? Let's face it, One Kenya Alliance movement is confused as we speak. They were supposed to announce their presidential candidate. They have not yet announced. They've promised they'll do that in January. January will end and they won't do it. Number two, One Kenya Alliance movement is undecided. They still don't know. They are still split whether to stick with the Uhuru Raila, or to go alone, or to go with the William Ruto. So they are still undecided. But the question, what next? In my view, if you ask me, One Kenya Alliance movement has these 4 options. The first option, which they must apply if they are to remain united, is to kick out Musalia Mudavadi out of One Kenya Alliance movement. Robert Greene, in his 48 Laws of Power, always advises that in a group, there's always one troublemaker. So you deal with the troublemaker, everything is fine. Musalia Mudavadi is the troublemaker in One Kenya Alliance movement. His key guy, Malala, is a troublemaker in One Kenya Alliance movement. So kicking out Mudavadi out of One Kenya Alliance movement will automatically kick out Cleophas Malala. And once that's done, Alliance can then refocus. Without doing that, I can assure you, Mudavadi believes that he must be the presidential candidate in One Kenya Alliance movement. And therefore, because he has insisted on that, these guys cannot even negotiate properly. They can't agree. If Wiper is coming, and they've already saying that Mudavadi must be the presidential candidate. So the only way is for them to kick out Mudavadi out of One Kenya Alliance movement. So that's the first option. It's difficult, but it's the best. The second option is to collapse the entire alliance. Let everybody pick his party, go away with it. Because this alliance has refused to pick. Initially, it was supposed to be the third force. It's not even proving its worth. There is nothing. The other day, they were supposed to hold a rally in Nakuru. They didn't. Yeah, Gideon Moi has been trying to do everything. The rest, nothing. So the best thing is let the alliance collapse. Once it collapses, then each presidential candidate there can decide what they want to do. If they want to join Ruto, they should do. If they want to join Raila, they should do. But the thing is, One Kenya Alliance as a movement or as an alliance is headed nowhere. Number 3, in my view, which is my fourth option for them, is that they should go back to their individual parties and use the energy to strengthen their individual parties. A good example is Wiper and KANU. For Mudavadi and Weta, they can work together and thwart any attempt of Raila or Ruto penetrating and taking over Western Kenya. But that's not the interest of Kalonzo and not the interest of Gideon Moi. Kalonzo and Moi can then go back to the drawing board with their individual parties. Gideon Moi, for example, the amount of money he's spending on this alliance, he can use that money on KANU, revamp KANU, and position KANU, even if not for 2022, maybe for 2027. That's the honest truth, because there is no value KANU, if you ask me, KANU as a political party is gaining from One Kenya Alliance movement. Nothing. Apart from money which Gideon Moi is using on them. So, in my view, the best thing for Moi, go alone. The best thing for Kalonzo, concentrate Wiper in Ukambani. Make Wiper the party of choice there. Negotiate with the likes of Ngilu. Negotiate, use the energy to unite with Alfred Mutua, Professor Kibutha Kibwana, so that you become automatic leader of the larger Ukambani region. So when negotiations are done, people like Kalonzo, people like Ngilu, people like Mutua, people like Kibwana can easily vouch for you. In my view, that would be more productive for Wiper than staking in One Kenya Alliance. So the best is for them is to go back to their individual parties and strengthen those parties so that we can see whether Mudavadi will be able to strengthen ANC, because ANC is collapsing. And lastly, if they are to continue working together, then these gentlemen must put terms and conditions to Mudavadi. The first term is for Malala to be removed, because Malala is controlling Mudavadi. He can't let Mudavadi operate with his partners unless he's doing that under the authority, which is a possibility, under the authority of Musalia Mudavadi. But the truth of the matter is that they must demand that if you have to negotiate, if you have to sit down, please remove Malala, because the perception outside there is that Ruto is funding him, and therefore Ruto is funding Mudavadi, and therefore Ruto may be behind the problems and the trouble in One Kenya Alliance movement. I don't know what to think, but those are my thoughts. How are they? Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.